Kimm's marriage. And we never heard about Mr. Kimm, and ladies, this is the first time a lady has popped up into the whole conversation. Her name is Wilhelmina. The German way, if it's spelled that way, the E is always pronounced as an A. So when you see that, that is pronounced Wilhelmina in German. But they were married November the 9th of 1850. Now, what do you know about Wilhelmina? Well, what do you know about Mr. Kimm? This is a review to see if you've paid attention to Mr. Kimm, the immigrant, Mr. Kimm, the merchant. Okay, we know that Mr. Kimm came from Germany. 1838, he was 27 years old. He became a merchant in St. Louis. We know that he suffered 2 tremendous fires. We don't think he owned the building that his merchandise was in, but a lot of his merchandise was destroyed in 1841 and again in 1849. We can document with ship's manifests, with actual material, that he made 4 round trips. He came over in 1838, it was his first trip. He went back 1855 for a visit, 1875, 1877, 1880, and then he went back for good, 1883. He became a U.S. citizen, 1849. He purchased land, this is his first purchase of land, in Jefferson County, and this is where Kimmswick is today. And the date is so easy to remember, 1850, but it was October 4th. Of 1850. Why is October 4th easy to remember? It's her birthday. So that's easy for me to remember. He founded the town of Kimmswick, but there's a 9-year period here while he was developing the land he bought. And then he returned home to Germany in 1883 after being in the United States for 45 years. And he died in Switzerland in 1886. That's what we really know about Mr. Kimm. We're pretty sure of this because we have sources, primary sources. Now, what do we know about Wilhelmina? Well, this comes only from the monument, her burial space here in Kimmswick, what used to be called Jefferson Square Park. Now I think it's called Luciana Gladney Ross Park. But on her monument, it says that she was born March the 12th of 1806. That makes her about 4 to 5 years older than Mr. Kimm, who was born in 1811. She died in St. Louis in 1876 and is buried here in Kimmswick. But other than that, we don't know much. Now, what you have to remember is the date of her birth, because now we have to find out, where is Wilhelmina at the time of Mr. Kimm? All we know is she's probably German because of that first name, and we know her birth date, 1806. Don't have to remember the month and the year, the month and the day, just 1806. Okay, so where do you start to look? Well, if you remember, I started talking to my friend Carol Goggins in February of 2023 to do a program on Mr. Kimm. And she worked for the State Historical Society of Missouri in Rolla, knew how to get to records, and she started sending me information like this. Marriage records. And there's Theodore Kimm mentioned. There's his name. Now, you don't have to read this, because you can't read this. This is not good. But there's Theodore Kimm, and there's Wilhelmina. Well, that doesn't help us too much, but up here, State of Missouri, County of St. Charles. They got married in St. Charles. Well, so now that's a place to go and look. Down here at the bottom, we can see they were married by a justice of the peace. His name was John, perhaps Oric, we can't quite read it. And that it took place, this is hard to see too, that you can't say it was in November, the year. Well, we know now it was the 9th of November of 1850. But it's not good. And so I said to Carol, got to do much more. And she said, no, there's too many rabbit holes here. I don't have time to do this. We're going to have to switch the topic. I'll just talk about places in Jefferson County. So that was the end of that. But not the end of us working together. So when you've got that, that's a primary source. You know it exists, so you go to the Recorder of Deeds in St. Charles to find that document.
Okay.
We've gone through those. That's
okay.
just close up.
Okay.
That's just trying to get you to see. Okay, here we are in St. Charles. Now we're going to take you on a few of these adventures. This is downtown St. Charles, I guess you'd call it that. This is the capital. But the records, just like out in our county seat, are not in the courthouse. They are in an administrative building. But you can find the address and the telephone number. It's all online. This is the administration building. And this is the door where you enter the administration building. Close up. That's where we go in. Now, when we get in there, there was no place to park. The parking on the street, well, you can't find a place. So Diane, she let me out, and I went in, and she said, I'll see you after I park the car. So she was gone 10 or 15 minutes. Anyway, you go in, and there are ladies. There are ladies there that came right up and said, happy to have you here. Why are you here? And I said, well, we're looking for a marriage certificate, and we have to go to the Recorder of Deeds office. Well, first of all, then, she puts this in some sort of a little screen that's there by the door. And she said, now you go down this hall, and you sit here, and you wait. And then on your phone, or your phone, they will send you a message that you go farther down here to these windows back here, and they'll give you the number of the window to go to, and then you tell them what you want. I said, okay. So I think Diane may have joined me. I don't know when you first appeared on the scene, probably long after this.
No, next.
Okay.
This next picture.
So
She was talking to this guy.
So I'm sitting there, and then they called me, and then I went to the windows. It was window number 13, and I said, oh boy, this is not going to be good. But it was good. I said, we need the Recorder of Deeds. Well, then they said, the lady behind the window said, well, now you go back and sit on the chair again, and a person from the Recorder of Deeds will come down to get you. But before you can go up to the Recorder of Deeds office, you have to have a badge. So then we went back to the little lobby area, and this young man was sitting right here. We were getting badges, and I said, oh, could my daughter-in-law take a picture of you giving me a badge? Well, he said, I'll have to call and see if that's all right. Okay, so he puts in a call. Yes, that's okay. So, but he didn't stay sitting there. He got up and came right around and sort of posed with us all. But anyway, now we had our badge. And of course, Diane had joined me at some time during all of this, and now she had a badge. And the lady was there who had come down from the Recorder of Deeds office. So now we took the elevator to the Recorder of Deeds office. And we're in the Recorder of Deeds office. And Diane knows, you see, in the Recorder of Deeds office, there's a lot of these kind of shelves, and all of these are different books, okay? They go all around the room. But a big sign in the room said, absolutely no photos allowed. I thought, well, Diane had already gone to the marriage book. She'd already found it, and here is that same picture that we started with. This is it. And I said, oh, we have to have a picture of this. So now I look around and I see, oh, you go down here and then down a little hallway, and I found a man sitting behind another window. And I said, we're from the Kimmswick Historical Society, and we would like to find proof that the man who founded our town married Wilhelmina, and you have it here, and could we take a picture? Well, he said, you have to have written permission from the Recorder of Deeds. But they would look for the Recorder of Deeds. Well, the Recorder of Deeds was not there. She was downstairs somewhere, so we got the Assistant Recorder of Deeds. And that lady, as we explained what we were trying, see, this is fun, this is an adventure. What we're trying to do, she kind of came right in there with us where Diane was standing, and she said, well, we really don't allow this because we would make a copy of that and sell you the copy for $2. And we said, well, we would pay for the copy, but could we just take a picture? And so she said, okay. So we ended up with that. I took only one picture, but then I edited it down. So the next slide will show you that this is what you originally saw, which was all
The one that we
fuzzy.
couldn't read before.
Yes, see, here it is again, state of Missouri, county of St. Charles. This is now the 9th day of November, 1850. There's Theodore Kimm and Wilhelmina Peltzer. He married a Wilhelmina Peltzer. The man was John Orrick. He was a justice of the peace, and this was filed on November the 13th of 1850. Now that's a primary source, and that's as good as it gets. You can't change that. That's who he married and the day he married her.
But while we were there, we couldn't understand why they would go to St. Charles to get married. So we thought, well, do they own land? Did Mr. Kimm own land while he was there? Or, so we searched the records for Peltzer while we were there, land records, and Kimm, and we could find nothing. So why they went to St. Charles to get married? I don't know.
Does it say who their witnesses were or anything like
There
that?
are no witnesses.
Okay.
It
This
only
is
says,
this is in front of a justice of the peace.
Maybe they went out of town because they didn't want anybody here to know they got married.
Was St. Charles the capital back then?
Do you have any idea how they?
I don't know the year. I would think by 1850 it was, because the records are here.
Yeah.
Yeah. But here's the thing I kept saying to Diane when we would come to these kinds of things. I would say to her, now wait a minute, you know the old slogan that a lie travels halfway around the world before the truth gets its shoes on.
Yeah.
So don't start making up what we think happened here, because we don't know. We just know that the two of them got married in St. Charles. But now Diane is working constantly on the computer, and I asked her a question about this and that, and she says, that will take me hours to find this information. And she spent hours. But I think the next thing is that you came up with what could possibly be,
Work done by someone.
yes, a secondary source. And we always called it the orange papers. This is someone who knows a little bit something about a Wilhelmine, but can you give us a close-up? Oh, wait a minute. This is a Wilhelmine, but it's a Johanna Wilhelmine Peltzer. But look at the birth date, 1806. This could be Our Lady with a different first name. She's from Flammersheim, Prussia. And she left Germany in 1848. Okay, so now that you've got that, I think you went on and found something else. Well, first of all, I tried to figure out, did Mr. Kimm know her, and could they have been in Germany at the same time? Well, it doesn't look like it, because she's from Flammersheim, he's from Blankenburg in the Duchy of Brunswick. And that is about, Ben looked it up on the computer for me, that's about 212 miles and 4 hours of driving. They probably didn't grow up together. No, I don't think so. It was a good try, but nah, not good. Let's go on. But now Diane found work done by somebody else, but here is a genealogy sheet. And these are the parents, Johann Christian Schmitz and Helene Katharina Peltzer. They're the parents of this family. And here is a Wilhelmine Schmitz, maiden name, born the date, March the 12th, 1806. That's got to be, well, it should be our Wilhelmina, yes. But now the question, and this is one of the things where Carol Goggins says to me, I'm not going down these rabbit holes. This mother's maiden name is Peltzer. So, was Wilhelmina ever married to a Peltzer, or did she have a child and took her mother's maiden name? We don't know. But anyway, we know a little bit more, and we do know Diane keeps keeping track. I think that do you remember how old? I think when this couple married in 1798, they started having children when the mother was like 28 years old, and I think Wilhelmina the mother was 34 years old when Wilhelmina was born. So it's a long period of time. And we thought, gee, the Germans are having children late. But anyway, that's a side story. Okay, so now we know, well, we just know a little bit about Wilhelmina. This picture now, again, Diane is just searching. There's not a logical progression. She's just searching. She's looking now for Ernest Peltzer. Because if you have been to the little cemetery here in Kimmswick, you know that next to Wilhelmina Stone, there's a stone for a little boy. And his name is Ernest Peltzer Kimm, only son of Theodore and Wilhelmina Kimm. That doesn't make any sense at all. There's a mystery. What's going on? So I'm trying to link Kimm to Wilhelmina, and we're not doing it. But now, all of a sudden, Diane finds a ship's manifest. Here we are, back to a primary source. You can't defeat this. And this says, born September 25th, 1804. She's born 1806. That's close. That's good. He's from Elberfeld, Prussia. That ship, the Republic, left from Bremen to New York. He arrived here in 1847. That's 10 years after Mr. Kimm was here in 1838. Okay, but down here, where is Peltzer on this whole page? He's at the very bottom. That's Ernst Peltzer. And if you work it out, he was 42 years old. He's a male, he's a merchant, and he's from Prussia. So now we know that there was, once upon a time, an Ernest Peltzer. Couldn't be that little 9-year-old boy, but she maybe married an Ernest Peltzer. Well, as I say, there it is. You can see it. You might want to say, is that really? Yes, that's Ernest Peltzer. And is that 42? Yeah, that's what it would work out if you take his birth date and the date he came over. Yes. Okay, so now we have a Mr. Peltzer coming. And I think Diane found this just recently, that where she lived in Flammersheim and where he lived in Elberfast, that's Mr. Peltzer now, the distance is 95 kilometers, about 59 miles. So they were close enough to maybe know each other in Germany. Okay. We're trying to link these people. Again, this is orange paper, secondary sources. Who did this work? We don't know, but Diane found it at a site called MyHeritage. And here we see the name Joanne Wilhelmina Peltzer. This time Schmitz is spelled ending with a Z, not an S. So they change it, but okay. And here's the birth date again, 1806. Oh, look, she's from Flammersheim, Prussia. That's good. She came here in 1848. That's good. Her destination was North America. But this is important because for the first time we see this. Ernst, this is pronounced Eugen, E-U-G-E-N, Eugen Peltzer. And this little Ernst guy, born in 1844, his mother was born in 1806. He, what does that say, departs in 1848, same year his mother. So for the first time, we see this little fella leaving Germany with his mother. So now the two of them are coming. And we have Mr. Ernest Peltz here already in 1847. Now she and the little boy are coming in 1848. So, we don't know, but let's go on. Another page. Diane keeps looking, and all of a sudden, and you could explain this because you're the one that found all these things, but just doing research, she finds this. I, the undersigned Ernest Peltzer. And this is, and we'll have a couple of close shots of it, This is a will. He wrote a will. Mr. Peltzer did. A close-up of this, and we'll take, I, the undersigned, Ernest Peltzer, being of sound mind, hereby make and declare the following. The last will and testament I give and bequeath to my beloved wife, Johanna Wilhelmina Peltzer. Everything I possess, real estate, etc., etc. So he writes a will. So we've linked them. Now we know they're married. He calls her his wife, even though he calls her Johanna instead of Wilhelmina. It's a mystery. I don't know why. But the next page, we, the undersigned, witnesses declare and attest that Ernest Peltzer declared the above to be his last will and testament, and that he signed the same and such in our presence, July 31st, 1849. And there are the two men's names. Now, what happened? Why is a man who just came here, 1 year, 2 years, 42 years old, a merchant, why is he writing a will? Well, we don't know. But he's probably sick. And what do you think's going on in St. Louis in 1849? We were just thinking, we don't know if this is what killed him, but there's cholera. There's cholera in St. Louis in 1849, in addition to a fire in the steamboats on the river. And cholera killed 10% of the population of St. Louis. I mean, it was a terrible epidemic. And where is this? This is just, we're just across the street from St. Louis, because this will is in the Recorder of Deeds office in St. Clair County, thank you, St. Clair County. And what is the county seat of St. Clair County? Belleville. Okay, if you want to see this actual piece of paper, this primary source, which we wanted to see, we have to go to Belleville. We have another adventure. So these things are fun because they're always followed by a delicious lunch. Yes, so this is good. So now we're off to Belleville. Okay, now let me tell you what happened here. You saw that first big building. That's where the records are. That's the courthouse. It's got like 3 huge wings. And the parking garage is in the back behind it. And so what you have to do, we found the parking garage, we went into the parking garage, we parked the van, her big black van, and then I walked half the distance to the elevator that would take you to the raised tunnel area that would take you over into the back of the courthouse. After I walked half that distance and we got up to where the elevator would take us to the little tunnel area, bridge area, it's under construction, it's not working.
The whole back of the courthouse is being redone.
Yeah.
And I saw the sign on the door. I said, "Are you sure you want to walk this?" "Oh, it'll be fine." I'm like, "Do you see the little arrows?" We have to go up the block,
There's
across the block,
there's
down the block.
there's a bridge tunnel, and if that doesn't work, now we're sitting in the, I have to walk back to the car, another half trip back, and then she says to me, because she's very kind on these expeditions, she says, "Well, I will get you as close to the front door as possible. You go in, and I will park the car, and I'll meet you inside." Okay, so that was our plan, but we had seen this little cart, and as we're going down, you know, to get out of the garage, there was a fellow sitting there, an older gentleman in one of these carts, and we just stopped and said to him, is there transportation from this garage to get into the courthouse?" "Oh yeah," he said. And we kind of looked at him, well, like, "You're in a cart, take us." But he said, "Look, there's a cart coming right behind you. She'll follow you."
He was a sheriff's deputy. He wasn't in the transportation business.
But I asked anyway. But I asked. He said, "She'll follow you." And so this young lady here did. She followed us. Diane parked the car again, and then she just sat there and waited for us, and I climbed aboard. And of course, I'm already a little rumpled because I've walked more than I really have walked in many a day. But anyway, she was very nice and took us to the front now of the St. Clair Courthouse. Next picture. Okay, so now when I get out of the cart, this is what I'm faced with. I now have another walk, which is about a block long, because this is the front door of the courthouse right there. Well, what can you do? You're there, you do it. So I started to walk, good. We walked, and then when you get inside, now it's like going to the airport. Now you have to go through the scanner equipment, all of this, you know. Yes, they looked in the purse. I had a little tiny scissors in my purse. Well, they found that, but he took a look at me and he said, oh, it's all right. So guess he didn't think I was going to stab anybody. So anyway, we got through security, and then they said, well, the Recorder of Deeds is on the 5th floor. Just take the elevator up. Okay, so now here we are on the 5th floor. I'm looking back. This is where the little cart had let me out, right up in this area. And I had walked in here. Now we're up on the 5th floor. Okay, there's 2 wings going this way, and then there's one behind us. So the next slide shows you, there's Diane, and she's getting ready to go down this wing to find the Recorder of Deeds office. Okay, but we did. I followed Diane. And we went down, and of course the people in these Recorder of Deeds offices are always very nice. You tell them what you're here for, what you want to find, and they really do want to help you. They don't do the work for you, but they kind of set you up. So this is done again with microfilm. And
That
Diane,
was my first foray into microfilm.
yes, because we are now discovering that when we do work out in Hillsborough, our county seat, the administrative building, that's all.
They're good.
They're digitalized.
Yes, everything's digital. Not so much in the other places.
Here we're back to microfilm. This is difficult, but they show you where the reel is, where you want, and okay. So Diane she's I don't know, she's strong. She does it.
Well, and every place is different. Here they had them all on the microfilm, but they had it by grantor and grantee, so buyer and seller. But they broke them, like in Hillsborough, you just go and you look under P's for Peltzer. All the P's are there. Here they did like PA, buyer and seller, then like PE, buyer and seller. So you had to scroll through the microfiche to get to the point
Where you were.
yes. So
And you have to keep your wits about you, because you have to know that a grantee is a person who is buying land. They're getting it. And a grantor is a person who's selling land. So if you look on the wrong spot, you may not find the person you want. But anyway, we had been to Hillsborough before, so we know that rule. So here's Diane. Look at this machine here. And what this thing is showing you is different names and then the book and page number. Because once you've got the book and page number, then you can get a copy of the original document. But that's on a different machine.
no, this one's still microfilm. It's still microfilm.
Yeah, here,
Little wheels
here,
down there.
yeah,
But it's
yeah. Yeah, there's microfilm, but this is to the copy machine. Okay, and then you make your own
They only
copy,
charge $1 over there.
but you make your own copy,
Illinois charges $2. Missouri, we only charge $1.
and then of course, when you get the copies you want, then you take and you pay for them. But okay, and then of course you have to put that equipment back where you found it and don't get it mixed up. But anyway, Diane's very good at this, and we made copies. We got a copy of the will. And we know in the will that it said he had real estate, and he left all his possessions and his real estate to his beloved wife, Joanna Wilhelmina. Well, if he owned real estate, we're guessing that real estate was right there around St. Clair County somewhere. So now we look, and here we do find a document. We're still now in Belleville. This document says Ernst Peltzer, grantee. That means he is buying land. He purchased 110 acres, more or less, from a John and a Melinda Renshaw. He paid $1,200, and he did this in 1848. And we know that our Mr. Peltzer came here in 1848. So he came as a merchant, and then he buys 110 acres. That doesn't seem like that's what a merchant would do. But we can't come up with any answers because we, don't want to create any misunderstandings here. But anyway, go back just a little bit, one back. Because here you can see this indenture. On the first page, back one more, you couldn't read it. But I'm just showing you that indeed Ernst Peltzer is here. This Melinda, she's a Renshaw. She's the wife of John Renshaw. And only the seller signs the deed. The buyer doesn't sign, the seller. So when you go to the bottom of that document, I wanted to show you this. Next slide, please. Here are the sellers, John Renshaw and Melinda Renshaw. Now this right here is her mark. And that means that Melinda could not write. And she probably could not read and write. But just someone, a notary, saying that I saw her, that's her mark, I know her, okay, that will do. So anyway, now we know that he bought land from Melinda and John Renshaw. Okay, now wait a minute. Diane and me are saying, if he bought land and he wrote a will, we don't know that he died, but he probably died. Can we find out what happened to that ground? So let's look and see. When did that ground change hands? So Diane went down the list, and this is what she found. We're still...
I first looked for Peltzer.
Yes.
To see if Mrs.
Peltzer.
Peltzer
And-
sold the land.
But no. But we did find a deed filed and recorded on December 28, 1850. Ernest Peltzer's land, 110 acres, was sold for $2,100. This is the deed. This is where it starts. It goes on, and it goes on 3 pages. Could we have a couple close-ups? Next one. This deed made and entered into the 18th day of December, 1850. Here it comes. Between Theodore Kimm and Wilhelmina, his wife. So, they had married November the 9th, and in December, they sold her land to a Mr. Jacob, whatever that name is. Is there one more slide that shows that? And this is, they're selling, so they are signing this deed. And this is the clincher. Theodore Kimm, Wilhelmina Kimm, formerly Wilhelmina Peltzer. So he stepped right in, men come first. And although she got it from her first husband, she definitely has half interest in it, but Mr. Kimm comes first and they sell it. Now at this time, I was patting Diane on the back so often that I was afraid I was bruising her because this is really what we wanted to, this is what we want to see. And now that was, okay, so Diane and I are sitting here trying to figure out, and I don't know if we can come up with this, but Wilhelmina, if his will, which was dated July the 31st, 1849, if he died shortly after that, she married Kimm in November of 50. That's about 15 or 16 months, and she's marrying. And Mr. Kimm, who's never been married before, is now marrying a widow lady with a little boy who's 6 years old, because he was born in 1844, and he's now a 6-year-old little boy. But what happened? Things are really happening very quickly, because they marry in November. In December, they sell her ground in Illinois. But what happened on October the 4th, 1850? Remember when we started all this? Mr. Kimm bought land, which later on became Kimmswick. So a lot is happening in Mr. Kimm's life in 1849, 1850. But the last one, we're back to where we started. We don't have any pictures of their marriage because Pictures were not taken in 1850. If you got a picture, it was on glass, a daguerreotype, you know, and you had to go to a studio, so there's no pictures. But now today, because the story goes on, today Diane called the Historical Society in St. Clair County, Belleville, and tell them about your experience today.
Well, I just called and I said, we're from the Kimmswick Historical Society. We're trying to find the man who was the first husband of the foundress of the town, founder and foundress of the town. I said the man was only living here for like 2 years at the most. He passed away, we assumed somewhere in St. Clair, Illinois, St. Clair County. He said, oh yes, one of the genealogy groups had gone and mapped to the cemeteries. So we may, he said you could go to the Belleville Library, told me where they were, right behind the card catalog. Yes, a real card catalog, he said. The books are there. So we might try and go and see if we can find where Mr. Peltzer's buried. For no other reason than I've been trying to find this guy for a long time and find anything about this guy. Because Loretta Bemler had done research to try and find information about Mr. Peltzer, and
She couldn't find anything?
She couldn't find anything, and Betty Eldridge had searched, and in her records that where she had sent to Germany for things, she didn't understand the dynamic so much, and now we've got a little more information. So yeah, I just want to find this guy because it's a mission now.
So I promptly said that means another trip to Belleville and another lunch.
Belleville's a very nice town.
2 questions.
Yeah, and also behind you there's a,
Go right ahead.
Okay.
Go right ahead. We know they had the land in Illinois, but do we have any idea where that land was?
yes, if you take time to read those documents, it is described.
We could
Lot so-and-so,
We'll have to
yeah, lot,
plug it into GPS sometime, and we'll have to go see
Yeah,
where
yeah, there's a definite legal description, and those 110 acres were in individual lots, like 7 or 8 lots. Some of them had from 10 to 15 acres, a whole parcel. But there's a legal description, so you can find it. Yeah.
Okay, and the second was, where did you have lunch?
Well, in Belleville, I looked at my phone, and the first restaurant that came up was something called the Tavern, something on Main Street or whatever.
Okay.
Well, as we were driving down the street, now this tavern kind of was the wrong title, because it was a nice restaurant. They had tables outside on the sidewalk, and you've been there, you know it. Okay, but now the next time we go, we'll find another place.
Take you long.
Maybe I'm getting all this. So, the young boy that is buried with her up there, that was her husband?
That's her son.
Her first
Yes,
husband.
yes,
We
yes.
assume that. We
So,
have,
well, at the age,
yes, from,
Because we do have a piece of paper where it says, and I don't know if it came up here, that she married in Germany October the 22nd, 1837.
yes.
But see, that's a marriage certificate in Germany.
But
And we
yet
don't have that.
Have not found a marriage certificate for Peltzer and Schmidt, Wilhelmina. I haven't found a marriage certificate for them, and I haven't found a birth certificate for Ernst, the little boy.
how,
Because he was born in Germany.
right. But then, how soon after her son passed did she pass?
Okay, now, the little boy died. Okay, now we're in 1850, okay? That's the marriage date. The little boy died 3 years later, in 1853, and was buried here in Kimmswick on that little knoll up above flood stage, because Mr. Kimm does not make his town official until 1859. So already the little boy was buried here in that area, but that park, Mr. Kimm, and we'll talk about this later on when we talk about Mr. Kimm and all the deeds he wrote, he wanted a Catholic church and a Protestant church to be built in that area. And so this little boy's grave is there. Yes, but you see, the thing that has bothered everybody, and it's on the internet incorrectly, it says only son of Theodore and Wilhelmina Kimm, and That's not quite right, but
That's what the stone says.
that's what the stone says. And I'm sure they did that because there was a great deal of emotion, I guess, for this little boy passing away. And maybe Mr. Kimm was very fond of him. I don't know why, but that was not Mr. Kimm's son.
But then we don't know how many years later she lived.
Oh, yes, on her stone, she died in 1876.
Oh, so it was quite a while.
That's on her stone there.
Quite a while.
Yes, yes. And when we talk about that later on in the year, we'll get into that.
Cholera for the son as well, if it was.
He didn't die in 1849, he died in 53, he was 9 years old. And a lot of children died of diphtheria. Now see, here we go again. A lot of,
My uncle was
yes, in
struck with diphtheria.
yes. And there is, if you ever go to the Antonia Cemetery, there are like 4 little lamb graves right in the front row. In one family, 4 children died in just a period of a few days of diphtheria. So that can happen too.
We found her, where she's recorded in the city of St. Louis, her death is recorded, but I haven't found
A reason?
his death.
His death.
I think her death said something about heart or something.
I-
But I haven't found anything for the little boy.
Well,
Yeah, but see, those records would be in Germany. Her marriage record is to Mr. Peltzer's in Germany, the little boy being born, his birth certificate is in Germany, and when they came here, Mr. Peltzer came in 1847, she and the little boy came in 1848, and he dies in 1849. So why can't we find Mr. Peltzer? Because he wasn't here very long. And we don't have, you know, if we cannot find a death certificate, which we ask, we went to the county clerk and said, do you have death, this was in Belleville, do you have death certificates? Well, not that far back.
They have marriage certificates from way, way back. They don't have death certificates for that far back.
But then one other thing you could do is to get a list of these people were from Prussia. That's the northern part of Germany. These were probably Protestant people. If they were connected to a church, you could then go to all the old Protestant churches and search their records. If you really wanted to find Mr. Peltzer, but I keep saying to Diane, I know this is a quest, but we're really interested in Mr. Kimm. Yes, Mr. Peltzer.
yeah, but you're talking about him possibly being in the middle of a, what did he die of? You think?
We're guessing cholera. We're guessing cholera.
It could have been something that it was all just so hectic, the records were.
Well, we don't know. Maybe we'll find it someday. But that's it. That's the end of our program on Mr. Kimm and Wilhelmina. We know a little bit more about her. Not a lot, but a little bit.
But there's still more mysteries.
Yes, yes, yes.
Thank you so much.
Thank you for work.
You're welcome.
And thank you, Diane.